For many years, it seemed like this era of abundance would never end, and yet here we are today. I'm going to show you what Jeffrey Gundlach warned about. I'm going to show you reports out of the EU, and quite frankly, this is staggering to say the least. I'll bring you all of that information, give you the solutions as well, and you on an individual level, what you can do. Things that we need to be thinking about right now, I will discuss right here. Let's begin. The period of abundance is over. This is Jeffrey Gundlach. You may know him as the Bond King. But regardless, I thought it was very interesting and I wanted to lead with this because what he had to say, quite frankly, was something that I have said many times before. Of course, he talks about interest rates and what's happening in the markets, the bond market, and so on. But I thought it would be really wise to talk about a funny thing that was brought up. This is an interview that he did. And of course, talking about interest rates and what the Fed has done. He says, and about today, this time, the inflation rate is 500 plus basis points higher than the yield on any treasury bond. And the Fed has said forcefully and repeatedly that they are going to bring it down. Therefore, they are not in a position to do a quick pivot. And then he says, weirdly, the market consensus thinks that the Fed is going to raise rates somewhat more, maybe even 125 or 150 basis points. So imagine 1.25% or 1.5% higher than where we are right now. And then around 6 or 7 months from now, the market expects that they will mysteriously going to start easing. Basically, the idea is that they're going to hike interest rates significantly more, and then they're going to drop them back down. To me, that's a strange thing to predict because why bother doing anything? If you're going to take rates up and then back down, why bother taking them up? Why not just do nothing? It's like a 6 foot tall man who's in shape and weighs 185 pounds saying, I'm going to go on and put 100 pounds on this holiday season and then I'll take it off by Easter. What's the point? That's not a healthy thing. That's very bad. Now, of course, he's trying to give an analogy there. And I simply want to highlight the fact that what he's talking about is true. Why would the Federal Reserve do this? Why, despite everything they have said, despite all the actions that they have taken, the market believes that in a few months, they'll simply turn around. And that's because of what happened in 2020. And that's because what happened in 2008, 2009. They believe that the Federal Reserve will save the day. And that's happening now. But what about inflation? What if inflation is still high? Will they sacrifice or will they save? This is a question that we only know in time. I'll bring more to you on that topic, of course, as always. Let me show you this. If you look closely, this letter here is basically just highlighting what those in the industry, talking about non-ferrous metals producers, calling for an emergency EU action to prevent permanent listen to this, permanent de-industrialization from spiraling electricity and gas prices. When I say these things, I am not saying them myself. I'm quoting de-industrialization coming from these metals producers. Look at the words that they use here. Just a couple things. Ahead, and by the way, you see what I write in the titles. And people say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Those are taken from the articles or quotes. Anyway, ahead of Friday's emergency summit, the business leaders of Europe's non-ferrous metals industry are writing together to raise the alarm about Europe's worsening energy crisis and its existential threat to our future. They've already had unprecedented curtailments in the last 12 months. Deeply concerned that the winter ahead could deliver a decisive blow to many of our operations. Emergency action needed, and so on. Think about this. Permanent job losses, economic slowdown, and actual de-industrialization. What do you think this would do to the economy and to your life? Looking at it on the whole, just imagine for a second what kind of impact. It would be significant. We're talking about major job losses. We're talking about economic slowdown. And we're talking about something that is very hard to dig ourselves out of. Now, can they print money to make more electricity? Not really, no. Can they reduce interest rates to make the electricity come on, to pull that stuff out of the ground? No, they can't. They can do bailouts and they can sort of revive sectors and they can have influence on that. But can the central bank really do much? Well, they can bring interest rates down again. They can print money, but what are you printing it for? So we are running out of ammunition as to what the Federal Reserve and what the ECB and what all these central banks are able to do. You see, they could monetize what the debt that is created by the government, but what do you think that does? Well, of course, this is massively inflationary, devaluing your currency, and prices will go up further as a result. And they know this, and that is their hesitation. Look here. If I show you that winter is coming, Taiwan warns as exports slow to a crawl. Look, all of these quotes, these multiple things here, 3 things in a row, are extremely shocking when you read these type of quotes coming out of mainstream articles, reports, and people in the industry. This is warning about Taiwan. We'll see what happens, of course, with China and so on. China would probably want to have a situation in which Taiwan is weaker. We'll see if that is the case. Look here. Europe's new dirty energy, the unavoidable evil of wartime fossil fuels. At least $50 billion in new spending on gas and coal infrastructure threatens to put emissions targets at risk. And absolutely they will have to if they want to keep the lights on. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to show you something about Switzerland that is shocking to me. Anyway, it's basically just saying, hey, we got to do the coal stuff. We got to do the natural gas stuff. We got to get things that we said were pollutants. We got to pull them back out. We're spending a lot of money. We're trying to bring these things online. They were previously mothballed power plants. Look at this overseas, getting stuff shipped from overseas like the US, bringing those flotillas across the ocean, doing whatever it takes. Okay, and that's just happening right now. Today, it is particularly evident in the EU more than anywhere else, but it is happening to a degree everywhere. This is showing us the global manufacturing PMI number. You see that red line? Well, that right there is in fact the 50 line, which means anything below that is a contraction. And it's been, on average, month after month after month, heading in that direction. So we do have a contraction in terms of manufacturing, but you look at it in many other ways, you see the same thing. EU economy risks full stop on energy crisis, Belgium warns. So again, same thing. Bloc risks de-industrialization and social unrest. You have to understand that this is going on everywhere. It is vital to know this information and then we take action on it as best we can. We can only do so much, of course. Even if it's just a small thing, we want to take action. We don't want to sit idly by. We don't want to be that person that says, oh, I wish I would have done that. Don't do that. Don't have regrets. This is just one aspect of that. But here we have it. If you look further, with Putin threatens to let Europe freeze over winter, raising risk of energy rationing. This is just one more. They're going back and forth, of course. Sanctions on one side. Putin saying, don't do this. Don't cross the line. They cross the line. Then, of course, you get a battle back and forth. Nord Stream 2 wasn't brought online. This was adding fuel to the fire. There's been always this battle back and forth, but I believe the biggest issue was that if you didn't like the guy, why are you buying stuff from the guy? I mean, it's just a matter of fact. I mean, it's just business, okay? If you don't have a good business, I know for myself, I had a client before, okay? And quite frankly, he mentioned a few things, said a few things that I didn't agree with. Well, gone. That's just the way it works, okay? If you don't like those customers, if you don't like those clients, you got to fire them. You got to get rid of them. You got to do what you can. Maybe it doesn't happen overnight, but you got to do it, okay? Even if that means you got to pay more money, even that means more, higher expenses and so on, you do what you got to do. That's the way the business world works. And that's the way personal relationships should work as well. Okay, so look here. You can see for those in Switzerland, my goodness, I don't know. But anyway, read this. Swiss citizens found to be in violation of the country's new heating rules. I can't believe that it even exists, which prohibit warming homes above 19 degrees Celsius this winter, could face daily fines of up to 3,000 Swiss francs and up to 3 years in prison. So you're not allowed to heat your home. You're not allowed to have your water heated by more than 60 degrees. Portable electric heaters, saunas, heated swimming pools are prohibited. Okay, and what else did they say right here? Quote, we are not a police state, assured the Minister of the Economy last Wednesday during a press conference. The police do not have to come to everyone's home, but there may be spot checks. There are indeed directives in other areas which are not permanently checked. The draft ordinances are based primarily on the fact that the vast majority of the population respects the laws. That's right. You decide to heat your home to the temperature that you want, and you will face a fine and potentially jail. I can't believe I'm reading this. To me, it is far too shocking, and this is just showing us where we are headed. It seems a lot like sort of a Hunger Games type of scenario, or, you will own nothing and be happy type of scenario. I mean, it's just heartbreaking to say the least, because you know that there are going to be homes out there that are the biggest home in the city or what have you, and it's operating at full blast, and somehow they get away with it. I wonder how that works. California blackout risk spurs diesel demand for generators. So what's going on here? You got a place in which they said, hey, we're going to ban all this. We're going to go green energy overnight. We're just going to rush this whole thing. And now you're going into diesel generators. I mean, this is just showing us the level at which we are at today. Companies are buying large numbers of carbon offsets that don't cut emissions. So you got these companies here. I've covered this many times before in history, but you look at it where it's the same thing all the time. You got a big company. They got a lot of money and they just pollute as much as they want, and they buy these carbon offsets and you don't have to worry about it. And I'm sure they just get the waivers too. I think it was GE who was getting massive waivers many years ago. So it doesn't really present themselves with any issue. No worries, right? Our ESG, you know, when we talk about ESG, I think it's pretty funny because it doesn't mean anything anymore. And you could see here, the ESG boom in China funnels billions into coal, liquor, and defense stocks. I mean, what if ESG is on that label? Don't touch it. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I mean, please. It is just horrible, to say the least. At least that's what it seems. New York to Maine hit by rare drought, killing crops, sparking fires. Here you can see the map and the drought monitor. It's looking like even the Northeast is being hit with this. Then we have this, it's just basically showing us that farmers are really in a tough spot right now in these areas, Massachusetts and others, where there's just so dry, it's so bad that what are we going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? And they're going to be in a crisis zone where they're not going to be able to grow food. They're not going to be able to have any of this because of fundamental problems they cannot resolve overnight. Let's talk about some solutions right now. When it comes to energy, you got to be smart on this. You got to take action right now. And I think it's really key to have a backup plan in place. Okay. People don't. They just don't. And they end up last minute. Oh my goodness, I need a diesel generator. Hurry. Oh, they're all out of stock. Oh, I need some food. I go to the supermarket. Oh, it's all out of stock. But as I say right here, have a backup plan in place for your energy. Natural gas generator, diesel generator, batteries, wood. Anything is better than nothing. Just take the action today. Okay? This is a very simple thing, but it's so overlooked. And it's really shocking to me that people do not really understand it. I really think time and time again, people are not understanding the basics. You have to have these things prepared for yourself. You can't expect the government to do it. You can't expect your neighbor to do it. You've got to do it. And that's really unfortunate because that's time, that's effort, that's money. But we have to be prepared in every possible way that we can. I hope you appreciate this message. If you did, hit that subscribe down below and double check if you're subscribed, because I know a lot of people, they believe they're subscribed, but they've been unsubscribed, believe it or not. So make sure you hit that subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.